Hello, Jerry here, and today's painting is of Whitby, which is in North Yorkshire in the UK, and it's a very scenic village with steps leading into it and along harbour walls in the distance. I've drawn the outline in beforehand in pencil, and I wanted to concentrate on my painting method for you to watch or to paint along to. Now, all of the information that I will give you is in the description box below. And the painting is at dusk, so you've got a reddish sky and light reflecting on the sea. The paper I'm using is Arches 140 pound rough, and I'm using Winsor & Newton artist grade paints. Now I'm going to start first with the sky using a 1/4 inch flat brush. Just mixing in the colour, which is mostly cobalt blue with some French marine added, and I'm going to also mix a small amount of raw sienna, lots of water, and adding some light red just to give the sky a nice reddish tint. Now I've wet the paper beforehand, just letting that dry off a little bit, and now adding the paint, being mindful that this will dry just a little bit lighter. Don't want it too dark. Running the brush across the paper and merging in the raw sienna light red mixture. Just leaving the light compartment in the lamppost clear, because I'll be using a different colour on that, like the lights turned on a bit later on, and also leaving the paper clear where there's some light reflection going across the sea. Not too worried about going over the harbour walls, as they'll be dark, and then as we come into the closer part of the sea in the harbour, I'm using the blue mixture with a lot more water, still leaving an area that's clear, untouched paper. And just blending in the edges of the water with a little clean water. And doing the same at the top of the painting there. Keeping the top of the that key in the harbour clear. That's going to be reflecting the light as well. And then straight onto the low wall that's leading down to the harbour. As you can see, the viewpoints at the top of the steps which lead down into it, which is a good composition. The eye will lead you down the steps into the village, and the lamppost will keep it there. Stop the eye wandering to the left, and the houses stop it wandering to the right. Doing as much as I can before I dry the paper. This is using sap green with the raw sienna mixture. Just going over it quite quickly, as this is the first wash. We'll be going over it again. Just using a small round brush, which is a Escoda Perla. That's most of the paper covered. Right, I'm just going to dry this off before I start with the second washes. Now I'm going to start working on the horizon line of the sea. Nice dark mixture, French ultramarine, cobalt blue to start with. Being very mindful to keep that accurate within that line, as it would be when you're looking out at the sea. Just a flat sea, fairly calm. Now I can work on one half at a time here, because you've got the lamppost in the middle, breaking it up so you won't get an edge where you stop. Now that's clean water going on. I just blend in the edge of that white patch, bringing this down to the harbour walls, and then the same thing to the right of the lamppost, using that Escoda Perla round brush, which is a synthetic brush. Doing the top, doing the line of water along the top there where the horizon is, and the same again, just adding water to that thick mixture to bring it down. Not worrying too much about the roofs on that house to the right hand side. That's going to have some dark colours put on it. Merging that water down so there's no edges there. And this is the roof of that building closest to us, which is just using neat light red. Just going down with a full coat of this wash. Straight from the well. Really catches the eye, this. And going to break it up here with just dabbing it with a clean tissue. And working my way along the rooftops now, just varying it a little bit. Raw umber, light red. Don't want them all the same colour. You can use artistic license when you're doing things like the rooftops, as it would make the painting seem quite dull if everything was the same colour as it can be in real life. I'm just using a little bit of the colour that's on the palette, which is that raw sienna mixture on the right hand side of that roof, and then this one will be quite dark. Neutral tint. Putting it in the wall of the building, making sure to leave some blades of grass showing on the green below. And bringing this wall in raw umber, just leaving a slight gap there so it doesn't run into the dark colour too much. And using it for the buildings lower down as well. Quite a lot of lines to do here, so just using that same small round brush, just washing it out in between washes and switching colours. Just making up a nice kind of dirty green colour with the sap green, raw umber and light red. Putting on the first wash. This wall's actually quite weathered. And then when this is given a couple of washes, it will really make the top of the wall stand out. Light against dark. Again, using that tissue just to break up the colour a little bit. Not too worried about the lamppost. That's going to be a dark colour. Spend some time with the drawing here, making sure that it's accurate. Just using a variety of colours here. Sap green, raw umber. Adding some water. Going over wet into wet with the green. I want to get most of this grassy area on the right done in 2 washes. And while this is still wet, going over this second wash on the wall on the left hand side of the steps. Just blending it in. Just making it darker. Putting in some greys at the start of the harbour, which is sepia and Payne's grey. Not worried too much about this area here. As you see, I'm taking off excess paint on the tip of the brush with a tissue that's in my hand. It's got a very fine point on here, which is going to be ideal for doing these bits on the roof. Very fine lines. Just going to give an indication of some roof tiles and doing the front wall, making that really show out the dark. There's going to be a lot of fiddly bits here, so it's going to be quite a slow process painting these. Using the darks on my palette, which is Payne's grey, neutral tint, gives a really nice dark. I'm trying to get this done in just 1 wash. So using a very small dagger brush, which is a very fine point, and putting in the harbour wall to the right. Now it's got a kind of a rail along here, so I want to try and give the impression of a rail on the top of it as well, like a handrail. Making sure these lines are accurate, because it will show if they're not. And popping in the chimney on the house to the right while I'm in this area. Trying to work systematically here so that my hand doesn't go over the wet paint when I'm doing these, as my hand tends to go closer to the paper when I'm doing the intricate parts. Same thing again with the tissue, putting a wash on and just dabbing it just to break up that area, make it more interesting. Now I've gone on to a rigger brush now, which is where I'm going to put this handrail, or an impression of it, above and below, just a few lines, and some broken lines being the reflection of the light that's on the harbour wall. Just trying to get all the darks in the same area at the same time. Working my way from left to right. And switching from the dagger brush to the rigger brush. This is just the roof tiles on that house that's closest, at the bottom of the steps. And there's a window there. Just leaving the paper untouched to be the frame. Working quite slowly here because there's a lot of quite delicate, intricate parts here. Just dabbing into the grassy area, giving an impression of some shrubs, that kind of thing. And now working from left to right, doing the harbour wall, which is going to have light reflecting on the footpath. So I'm just going to leave that clear, and at the same time bring this lamppost in with the same dark colour. Just trying to do everything kind of methodically. Leaving that white in the centre of the lamp there. It's going to be a bit of a feature when I finish it off later on. Now I've got some paint on my hand there, as you can see on the masking tape. So I've taken it away, cleaning my hand. Now, I've had this issue in the past where I haven't really taken much care, put my hand on the painting, and then proceeded to put black paint all over it and ruined it, because it can be quite difficult to lose this colour if you get it too much of it on there, just with water and a tissue. So I've taken my time, cleaned it all off, and cleaned my hand, and looked to see where I've smudged it from, where I've taken the paint from, see if I smudged it. Well, I can't see, so I presume I just got it off of the maybe from the paint palette. Now I'm leaving a very slight light area by the lamppost there, which is going to give the impression of maybe a boat or something against the wall. And then putting in the other light on the harbour wall. Really nice composition this. And there's a reflection of that light there. Working quite slowly across, making sure these lines are right and keeping that path clear, like the light shining on it. That's the path on the sea wall. And there's another little craft of some sort against the wall. It's really up to you to use your imagination what's going on there. And then doing this part of the wall, just covering the whole thing in the dark paint. And that's got a hand rail on too, which I'm using the rigger brush for. Using the same dark mixture for all of this. And just breaking up that light area a little bit with just some dark marks. Putting in the base of the lamp. And now the quay leading out into the harbour, leaving an area there which is going to be where the light's shining on it. Just put some marks on there and just dried that off a bit. And I've made sure I've dried it completely because I want to take away these pencil marks to leave the white lines. I don't want the pencil marks showing. Rather you see the nice white lines. Have to make sure it's totally dry. If it's not, you'll smudge it all over the paper and may well ruin it. This is raw umber, quite watery, with a small round brush. Putting in the side of the key and leaving the top untouched paper. And then this is going to be a sandy, pebbly part. Keeping that top of the wall with a nice sharp line. Just using a mixture of colours there. Not being overly fussy. What colours? Burnt sienna. Putting the wet into wet. Trying to make it look unfussed. And the top of the wall, and just using that green mixture there on the palette, just to give the appearance of a weathered looking green wall. And the dark mixture just making some dark marks on there. There'll be some cracks on the masonry, that kind of thing. That's nice and dark now, that front of that wall on the left hand side. That really makes the steps and the top of the wall show out. Taking my time with this painting just to make sure the lines are accurate, as there's a lot of light and dark going on here, and giving the impression of some steps. Very simple composition. It's very effective, but quite a lot of concentration needed to get these lines right. Get some burnt sienna and some cadmium yellow. Get a really nice bright yellow, which I'm going to be using to give the impression of this lamp being turned on. Just painting the sides and the bottom, leaving the centre part white, which would make it look like the bulb. As I say, this painting is at dusk, so the lights have just come on. And using this grey colour, Payne's Grey sepia, with a lot of water as a shadow colour, and doing the shadow of the lamp. Now I'm adding some raw umber to the mix and just putting in some grasses here on the wall on the left hand side. Just make it a little bit more interesting and connect it with the quay and the sands below. Just going around checking things now. Try not to fiddle about too much. Just finishing off things like the chimneys. And taking off the masking tape, which is just regular masking tape. And there's the final painting of Whitby. I'm quite happy with that. Hopefully you'll try painting it yourselves. I enjoyed painting it. Please subscribe if you can, and I'll see you again.